In 2021, the Ocean Acidification Research for Sustainability Programme was endorsed by the United Nations Ocean Decade. It sets out to provide society with the observational and scientific evidence needed to monitor, mitigate, and adapt to ocean acidification. Join us in broadening ocean acidification research and action around the world by delivering 7 important outcomes by 2030. 1. Quality data. The global science community will be equipped to provide the high-quality ocean acidification data needed. 2. Science to action. Specific data and evidence needed for mitigation and adaptation strategies will be clearly identified and provided. 3. Observing strategies. Long-term ocean observing systems will be co-designed and implemented by scientists, funders, and end-user partnerships. 4. Biological impacts. The impacts on marine organisms and ecosystems will be better understood and used to support the protection of marine life. 5. Future projections. Societally relevant predictions of the impacts of ocean acidification will be freely available. 6. Public awareness. The public will be more ocean acidification literate, understanding its causes and impacts. 7. Policy engagement. Countries and regions will routinely include measures to reduce ocean acidification in their respective national legislation. Time is running out. We need to act now. From individuals to global entities, every effort, regardless of its scale, holds significance. Join us and make a commitment to help deliver these 7 outcomes to tackle ocean acidification. Register your commitment at www.oars-commitments.org.
All right, welcome everyone to OA Week, and thank you for watching this video with us. We have been very excited to show it, and only now we're able to get it to work on the Zoom properly. So thank you for sitting through that with us and enjoying the OARS video. So today is the regional capacity building session, and my name is Kalina Grabb. I am currently a Canals Fellow at NOAA in Ocean Acidification Program, and I'm also a GOA-ON Secretariat. And please note that this session is being recorded, and OA Week is presented by GOA-ON, the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Network. GOA-ON has 3 sponsoring organizations. First, NOAA, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Second, the IAEA OAICC, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center. And third, the IOC UNESCO, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So GOA-ON was established in 2012, and when it was established, it only had a handful of members, and since it has grown immensely. Now it has over 1,000 members from 114 different countries, and it also consists of 9 regional hubs, which span across continents and oceanographic regions. And we have been and will continue to hear from most of these regions and hubs throughout OA Week. So if you're not a member yet, you can join GOA-ON today by visiting the link in the chat, which is goon.org. So OA Week debuted in 2020 and returned in 2021 when events and conferences were postponed due to COVID-19. Following the successful in-person symposium on the ocean in a high CO2 world in 2022, GOA-ON is bringing back OA Week 2023 to maintain momentum around OA research and provide a virtual platform for the ocean acidification community to exchange their latest findings. So we are thrilled to present a wide range of ocean acidification topics and speakers from around the world throughout this week. So during the presentation today, all participants are in listen-only mode. You are welcome to type in questions into the question and answer box, which can be found at the bottom of the control panel, which is likely on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll be monitoring incoming questions and we'll pose them to our speakers during the question and answer section, which will begin immediately after the final presentation. And for the discussion, you can also use the raise hand function in the toolbox at the bottom of your screen, and we can call on you so that you can ask your question directly as well. So with that, I would like to introduce the moderator of today's session, Yumeng Pang. Yumeng is also an OA Week coordinator and has been essential for making OA Week happen this year. Yumeng holds a Bachelor in Science in Marine Fisheries and Aquaculture from the Ocean University of China and a PhD in Marine Biology from the University of Tokyo. As a fisheries biologist, she has been focusing on the impacts of changing ocean conditions on marine organisms and ecosystems and its associations with fisheries and aquaculture productions. She participated in a Japan OA adaptation project since 2022, working on ocean acidification in Japan and its influence on oyster aquaculture. Currently, she is exploring transdisciplinary research on comparing OA adaptability of fishing communities between Japan and the US. All right, Yumeng, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kalina, for a very nice introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Yumeng. I'm very happy to be here to moderate this session. So first, I would like to briefly introduce our session. So regional capacity building this session will include an overview of the coastal acidification networks, their role in the OA community, and engagement spanning from the local to national level. Our speakers will describe their regional specific network development, successes, challenges, and priorities to move forward. Topics of discussion will also include resources they can provide, as well as what they hope to learn from others in the GOA-ON community. So to start this session, I would like to present you the first presentation by our two speakers in our session. So our first speaker is Darcy Dugan. Darcy Dugan led the development and launch of the Alaska Ocean Acidification Network in 2016 and is now the network's director. She has worked for the Alaska Ocean Observing System since 2009, collaborating with scientists and stakeholders to fill gaps in ocean monitoring and turn data into actionable information. And the co-speaker will be Jean Wieland. Jean Wieland is a marine biologist with a research background in harmful algae blooms and specifically red tide, working as a senior biologist and laboratory managers for the Mote Marine Laboratories Phytoplankton Ecology Research Program in Sarasota, Florida. Currently, Jean is the program coordinator for the Gulf of Mexico Coastal Ocean Observing System, the coordinator for the Gulf Coastal Acidification Network, and is adjunct faculty for the Environmental Science program at the Renning College of Art and Design. She has a master's degree in environmental science and currently a PhD candidate for marine science at the University of Southern Florida. So Darcy and Jean, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much, Yumeng. And I think Jen's gonna pull up our slides here and I'll go ahead and start. So I first wanna say thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We are really grateful to be here in this international community. As Yumeng said, my name is Darcy Dugan. I'm with the Alaska Ocean Acidification Network and the Alaska Ocean Observing System. And I'm based in Anchorage, Alaska on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina people. And Jen and I are going to be talking today about U.S. coastal acidification networks, often referred to as the CANs. And today we'll introduce you to what our networks do, some of the projects that we're working on, challenges and opportunities, and also ways we hope to engage with you all through GOA-ON. So we're hoping to be friendly and familiar faces in the ocean acidification community, and we really value the opportunity to form partnerships. As you can see on this map, there are 6 CANs, and we span the waters around the US. And in a nutshell, our role is to try to strengthen science collaboration and stakeholder engagement at a regional level. The first CAN started in 2014, and our geography pretty much mirrors the regional programs of the Integrated Ocean Observing Network for most of the regions. For instance, the Alaska Coastal Acidification Network is housed at the Alaska Ocean Observing System. So what is it that we do? One of our primary roles is serving as a convening body for a broad variety of sectors. So our membership includes researchers, fishermen, shellfish growers, tribes, resource managers, educators, policymakers, and also concerned citizens. And on this next slide, Jen, if we can do the next slide. Yeah, great. It shows some of our primary activities. So collaborating to identify and fill information gaps in monitoring and research, sharing information between researchers and stakeholders, sharing best practices and monitoring, sharing data, developing outreach materials for different audiences. Most of our networks act as an information clearinghouse for our regions, and we try to collaborate at all levels. So discussion, development, and implementation of projects with an emphasis on two-way communication. Next slide, please. This slide shows some examples of activities from around the Coastal Acidification Networks. You can see we often host webinar series, discussion series, roundtables. Many of us also produce a State of the Science report for our region. On this slide, I also want to highlight on the right an initiative by the Mid-Atlantic Network that's sponsoring a mentored workforce development fellowship to introduce students from underrepresented minority groups on ocean acidification. Next slide. We also work together, and this is particularly rewarding for us as each of our regions are a little bit different and we have a chance to learn from each other. So we connect quarterly with our groups from across the country to share updates and lessons learned and explore ways to collaborate. Right now, we're working together on a journal article that describes what type of observing instruments and approaches work best for different kinds of environments or information needs. Sometimes we collaborate on proposals. We also create joint outreach projects. And a recent example is a set of regionally tailored story maps on ocean acidification that we did in partnership with the International OA Alliance and the Aquarium Conservation Partnership. And we also work closely with NOAA's Ocean Acidification Program. They are great contributors to our base funding that run our programs. They also provide mini grant opportunities that we have been able to take advantage of. And they work with us to contribute regional information and national reports, and also share with us a lot of resources that we can use and circulate among our regions. Next slide, please. I also wanted to highlight the Ocean Acidification Information Exchange. This is a platform where people who are working on or interested in ocean acidification can exchange ideas. And hopefully this is a familiar screenshot to many of you. It is a really great place to circulate resources and start conversations. And it launched in the US, but it is global in scope. And we really encourage you to check it out. Several of our regional coordinators serve on the steering committee for the OAIE. And one of them, Austin Pugh from the NECAN, the Northeast Coastal Acidification Network, is the coordinator for the platform. Next slide, please. I wanted to touch briefly on the Alaska Ocean Acidification Network as an example of one of the CANs. We started in 2016. We were the 4th coastal acidification network in the US. Alaska has 44,000 miles of coastline and a population that is highly dependent on marine resources for both subsistence and the economy. So ocean acidification has become an issue up here that a lot of people are talking about. And the mission of our network is to try to expand the understanding of ocean acidification, both processes and consequences, and also explore adaptation and mitigation strategies. And some of the things that we do are listed on this slide. Next slide. These are some of the questions that we often hear when we're talking to Alaskans. So is it happening now and where? What species might be affected? Will this impact subsistence? How might this affect my long-term plans? And like, when do we actually need to worry about this? And we don't have concrete answers to a lot of these questions, but there is an effort across both the researchers and the stakeholders that we engage in to try to work together to get closer to some of these answers. Next slide, please. Some examples of things we do are on this slide. Some of them are convening researchers. We share funding opportunities. We discuss where gaps are and what type of monitoring could fill them. We do a lot of science translation, starting with recent findings from the research community, getting feedback from stakeholders about the best way to communicate it, and then trying to find a middle ground of accuracy while not being too much in the weeds. Let's see, next slide. I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly. I just wanted to note that Alaska has a very active community sampling effort. There's about 20 communities around the state that are taking water samples. They scoop them up in beer bottles, add a fixative, and send them to a lab for analysis. And this is primarily conducted by tribes. And the analysis labs are also run by tribes in Seward and Sick, Alaska. So this is unique in the United States. And the initiative and the implementation for this is coming from several tribes that serve as hubs, and the Alaska Ocean Acidification Network helps coordinate across the regions. Next slide, please. We've worked pretty hard to provide web accessible information. I just put a couple of examples from our website. There's a page on what we know about each species that's been studied in Alaska. You can also click through pages describing what we know about each region around the state. And then next slide, this is actually my last slide, shows some other examples of outreach products produced by the Alaska Ocean Acidification Network. So there's on the left, a synthesis of species response, brochures on individual species that we can hand out at events. There's a cheat sheet showing what resources are available at the different labs that conduct species response studies. We have a podcast on solutions focusing on carbon policy, and a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out to over 1,000 people. So we are always looking for interesting ideas or way to improve, and we're excited to learn from you all, both participants and other presenters during this session. So I'll now hand it off to Jen to provide some examples from the Gulf of Mexico Coastal Acidification Network and talk about her region, and also some of the challenges and opportunities at the CANs. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Darcy. That was a very small amount of information for such an amazing group in Alaska. You do an exceptional job, and a lot of us other CANs really look to you as a mentor as far as growing the network. So kudos to you for all your good work. So moving on, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jen Vreeland. I reside here in Sarasota, Florida. I work for the Gulf of Mexico Coastal Ocean Observing System that is supported by Texas A&M University. So technically I have two bosses, Texas A&M and GCUS. GCAN is a younger group. I think about a year. We developed GCAN started in about 2017. And it was very, very small. It included, I believe, just myself and the help of the director of GCUS at the time. And boy, did we hit the ground running and try to expand it the best we can. And we've enabled ourselves to have a nice, good connection within the Gulf of Mexico. GCAN and GCUS covers in our region, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and the Gulf Coast of Florida, which is a little bit complicated, and I'm going to go through that with you, Florida specifically. And I'm going to switch my slides here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so with all this territory, it becomes really essential to be strategic in the way that we communicate to our end users, our community engagement, educational materials, outreach. And it can be challenging in this area. So one of the things that we decided that we would like to start, with a trial, but it ended up being a really great opportunity, is to partner with our sister CAN, which is the Southeast Ocean and Coastal Acidification Network, called SOCAN. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of how this network is really set up in the Gulf and in the Southeast, we're both affiliated with the OAICC. So GCAN is supported not only by OAP, but by GCUS, and SOCAN is supported by the Southeast Coastal Ocean Observing Regional Association, SOCORA, and then OAP supports the both of us and does a great job with checking in on us and making sure we don't need any help, or if we do, they're right there to help us along. And then all of us together are affiliated with the IUCE network, which is the Integrated Ocean Observing System. Now, the IUCE Association, gives us territories to sort of look over, but SOCAN and GCAN, we overlap in Florida. So we've come to the consensus that it may be better to partner on many of our projects, and that includes proposals and projects, community engagement. We find that it's more efficient and effective to, divide and conquer or join forces to accomplish what we need to do to help engage our members and the community. So we have decided, not so much IUCE, but we have decided that we share Florida. So we always, with our members, we always encourage our members to not just join GCAN, but also SOCAN. They're a great team, and we usually know what's happening with their group and vice versa. So one of the GCAN priorities, as Darcy had mentioned with her cans, we focus a lot on the same things, but one thing that we have not been able to do until recently is reach out across the ocean, across the Gulf, to include partners and collaborators within our trinational region that includes Cuba and Mexico. And last year, we had developed our first international OA summit in Merida, Mexico. We really wanted to reach out and engage because, as you know, as experts in the field, you can't really get an assessment on OA in one area of the Gulf without understanding what's happening in all of the Gulf. So this is really important to us that we start engaging and including our friends and colleagues in these locations. So it was very, very successful. We worked very hard on this. We actually came to this opportunity with the partnership of the Hart Research Institute in the Gulf. They came to us and asked if we would like to partner with them in developing this meeting. So it was a 2-day meeting. It was very impactful. We gained a lot of information, and we continue to reach out and work with our colleagues that were able to attend. About 9 Cuban representatives were able to attend, as well as about 12 Mexican attendees. And we made sure that our numbers stayed within line of that because we didn't want to overwhelm anyone with all of the folks that wanted to attend. We kept it at a minimum of also 10 to 11 people. So it was a very small but very engaging and educational experience. We also invited a grad student from MSU who helped us with the summit, and it was a fantastic success. And we are looking to create a publication out of this experience and information that we learned. So stay tuned for that. We also do a lot of outreach material, as Darcy does with the Alaska Network. We just completed and updated our website, which was took about a year. We started from scratch, and it's now up and running and has great material. I encourage you to go in and check it out. We also put in every month. GCAN has a section in the GCOOS newsletter that goes out to hundreds of members every month. And so we always tend to update. We have a YouTube page that we record our webinars and we post through GCOOS. We post on Facebook. We do student webinars. We like to reach out and work with Sea Grant on connecting with students and providing them a platform to talk about their work. And here's another example of our collaborations with SOCAN, we just recently had a marine carbon dioxide removal webinar that was an excellent introduction for what's the hot topic of the moment, which is CDR removal. So with that, some of the future projects that we are looking to, that we are currently working on and looking to develop in the future, is creating outreach and educational materials from our current OA State of the Science publication that we published last year. We would like to create some materials that we can, hand out and generate publicly to resource managers throughout the Gulf states. That would be great also for the shell fisheries and the fisheries community. We'd also like to develop a manuscript synthesis of the International OA Summit, which I just discussed. We are working on that as we speak. And we'd like to develop a second International OA Summit in person. So we're hoping to open it up for more participants as well. So I'll keep you posted on that. And then we'd like to work towards developing a policy working group. Because we were so young, and we, as a coordinator, I do wear other hats within the GCOOS community. So it's essentially myself and our steering committee that really kind of drive the momentum in our cans here. So we find that right now it would be a great time, especially in this environment, to start connecting and doing some outreach with our congressional leaders. So we are looking to develop that. And we would also, and I have that twice. Sorry about that. But we would also like to focus on getting some educational material within the art community, to reach out and provide some social media infographics and whatnot to really help guide us along. So with that, I think that is, whoops, sorry about that, guys. That is it for the GCAN aspect of it. Moving into some of the challenges and successes. For network speaking, and I could speak for the Gulf network, we have limited staff, which is definitely can hinder us from multitasking on a variety of opportunities. And we do rely on a lot of volunteering. And these are expert volunteers who understand the importance of this network and really try to help us generate the materials that we need to address OA. We have limited funding, as with everyone, but this can also harbor some, big ideas that we have that we would like to proceed along with within the Gulf. This also may hinder us from developing that type of material that would help bring us more awareness. We also, we are in a very diverse political environment, so that also plays a part, I believe, with all the cans. Other environmental issues often take priority. I could speak on behalf of the Gulf that, one of the higher concerns is red tide. So shell fisheries, the fisheries, they have so many issues that they are concerned with within the Gulf that OA tends to be at the bottom of their concern list. And so we find that interesting, as we know that there are some correlations between red tide and ocean acidification conditions. So we're working on that. Things like that we have also worked on is creating an OA survey that we would like to implement into a national OA survey to really kind of identify what citizens know about OA and where we need to look to strategize our outreach efforts. Some of the successes that we can talk about is support from CAN members and steering committees. Like I mentioned, a lot of volunteer time, a lot of members and steering committees really, you have your, on behalf of the Gulf of Mexico, you have few but mighty members that really kind of help lead and are always available and always engaged and ready to help, which is great. The CANs know their region. It's great to understand and to be able to put materials forward to really specify in those locations what is needed. And then we take those opportunities and we can share them with other CANs and provide that information. Relationship building, I think every one of our CANs coordinators are, and their team are super engaged and super committed to communicating. So I feel like that's a great success with all of the CANs. Community engagement is also included there. And then student support. We always try to include students, whether there are students from a science-specific college institution to an art institution to a K through 12, all levels. We really try to engage and include a student aspect to the CANs. Social media following, we're still trying to figure that out. We do social media, but we haven't had a large feedback on or engagement on that end. So I think, without the studies of how successful this is, we're still kind of in that learning curve as well. So Darcy, am I leaving anything out? Should I touch base on anything else?
I think you've done a great job.
Great.
Thanks, Jen.
You got it. So moving forward, first, obviously we were really excited to be invited into talking about the CANs today. We want to hear about other outreach, engagement initiatives, and ideas from other parts of the world. And we would like to work with GOA-ON in the future. We want to keep this communication and engagement going. And some of the, endeavors that we would like to, move forward with GOA-ON is a joint support for international outreach and collaboration. Again, with GCAN, specifically in other CANs who are looking to engage, to find different areas of strategic methodologies, and what was successful, what wasn't successful, is really important to us. So, and reaching out to Mexico and and Cuba, other Caribbean areas, it is really important for us to understand wholly what's happening in the Gulf. We'd love to co-host webinars to help share information, co-support of internships and fellowships. These are all things that, because we have that support from OAP and IUS and the other USs, these are things that we could definitely work on and develop. Partnerships on workshops and podcasts. I think definitely podcasts are a trending item right now. I know I could speak on for myself and GCUS. We are doing a podcast, or have already done a podcast with some students at the university in Colorado. And we are really, very much prone to delivering messages. And I think GOA-ON is that catalyst for us to help move forward. And then finally, partner on citizen science projects. We know that's really important. I can speak on one really successful citizen science project that is not OA focused, but is a red tide focus. And red tide being correlated with OA is a really good way to, develop maybe, low-cost sensors and pH studies that we could engage with GOA-ON. So we wanted to put that out there. We thought it was really important because, again, we just really are impressed with the work that you do, and we want to be part of it. So with that, I think that covers it. And then our last slide, we just wanted to thank all of our CAN coordinators and you know, from the West Coast to the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, the Gulf, Alaska. Everybody here does a fantastic job. So with that, I believe that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darcy and Jane. I'm really sure this is only a small part of all those amazing jobs that you have been doing, and I can't wait to discuss more with you all in the question part. And then now it's time to move to our second speaker, Lilian Klug. So Lilian is a Luso-Brazilian oceanographer specialized in observational oceanography with a lot of research interest of her. So for over a decade, she has been dedicated to build capacity in observational oceanography, delivering remote and face-to-face training for international students in Portuguese and English. As the scientific coordinator for the Partnership for Observation of the Global Ocean, Lilian organized training opportunities for graduate students and early career researchers, particularly from developing nations. So Lilian, are you ready to share your work with us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting us. I'm here representing the NanoDope project, which is coordinated by my colleague, Dr. Subrata Sarkar, who unfortunately couldn't attend today. We would like to first thank the invitation from GOA-ON and all of your work, Yumeng, for organizing this and having us here. So if you allow me, before talking about this NanoDope project, I must give a small background on the project, which is an initiative of the Nippon Foundation and POGO's alumni network. So let me try. Okay, so POGO, or the Partnership for Observation of the Global Ocean, is an international organization formed by 55 oceanographic institutions from 30 countries. And POGO works to support the development of a truly global ocean observing system that benefits science and society. And we do it by acting in three fronts, or what we call the three pillars of POGO: innovation in ocean observing, capacity development, and outreach and advocacy. And NanoDope is related to our capacity development programs. So at this pillar, we dedicate to tackle the lack of personnel by training the next generation of marine scientists, particularly from developing countries. And we do it with the collaboration of many partners, which includes the Nippon Foundation, a Japanese charity foundation. And in partnership with Nippon Foundation, we have built a portfolio of training started in 2004 that has delivered training to over 500 early career ocean professionals from 75 countries, mostly in developing nations. So there are different modalities of training, and these include training in advanced oceanographic institutes, mainly in North America, Europe, and Oceania, or regional trainings in developing countries and shipboard training. So each of these trainings have their own merits. You can find more about them at the link provided on the bottom. So, and networking was always a priority to POGO and Nippon Foundation. And the idea was what happens with the trainees after they conclude their training. So they wanted to, Nippon Foundation and POGO had the desire to extend the benefits from the training to beyond the formal training period. And with that, in 2010, they created the NF POGO Alumni Network for the Ocean, or NANO, as a means to keep track of the trainees' careers progression and evaluate the impact of the training. Our ultimate goal in NANO is to maximize the benefits from the training by providing further opportunities for networking, collaboration among its members, and which includes supporting joint activities in research and outreach. So currently, NANO includes circa of 380 members, alumni members from 68 countries. And we have a website, social media profiles, biannual and newsletters, where we share news from the trainees and opportunities of interest to all. And between 2012 and 2017, with the support of Nippon Foundation and POGO again, we had 5 regional research projects run by our members. And they all focus on coastal matters such as harmful algal blooms, coastal erosion, or invasive species, and collectively gathered 100 young researchers and had many scientific outputs, including book chapters, publications, or academic theses. So, taking inspiration in these regional projects, in 2017, we launched the research project, a global study of coastal deoxygenation, ocean acidification, and productivity at selected sites, or NANODOPE for short. So the project takes advantage of our members' global distribution and their affiliations with institutions that can provide facilities for coastal monitoring. With NANODOPE, the aims to advance knowledge in observation of the coastal ocean, consolidating existing or establishing new monitoring stations for essential ocean variables in the alumni locations. The specific objectives of the project are to support in situ observations, conduct interstation analysis producing global results, organize and deliver training, outreach, and citizen science activities at the site. So currently, NANODOPE encompasses 33 sampling sites in 18 countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The field work for some of them started in December 2018, the last ones joining last year. And the 23 of these stations receive a modest financial support from us to collect data on temperature, salinity, pH, dissolved oxygen, and chlorophyll concentration at surface on a monthly or bi-monthly basis according to their possibilities. They can also, sample additional parameters like total alkalinity, suspended particulate matter, plankton community structure, which are not required but welcome, and also vary among the sampling sites. So in terms of carbonate system parameters, which I think is interesting for the GOA-ON, 30 of the 33 stations sample pH, but only 4 measured total alkalinity, either because of lack of personnel or mostly because of instrument and funding. So the NANODOPE stations are not fully equipped, and because of local conditions, resources, and sampling strategies vary, interstation analysis require that the raw data set has to be calibrated and reconstructed to reduce issues with precision and accuracy of different instrumentation. So the members of the project are currently working on the preparation of a manuscript to report the first scientific results of the project. I don't know why it's changing by itself. I apologize for that. Once this is published, we will aim to publish the data in international databases and make it available to everybody. And with the continuation of the work at the stations, the long-term goal is to assess trend patterns as well. So as I mentioned, part of the project, NANODOPE holds webinars on subjects of interest to the project participants and wider audience. And these webinars are also recorded and uploaded to YouTube and gather thousands of views so far. And in 2021, we published an article on the Oceanography magazine introducing the project, which you can read by scanning the QR code here. In addition, the members take advantage of their conducted field work and also try to involve the community in their activities as much as they can, developing outreach and citizen science activities at their stations. So the activities of not only NANODOPE, but the entire alumni network can bring several benefits for the members as for the ocean. Taking part in our project The members also can pass their knowledge to others by using fieldwork excursions and data collected at the stations to provide hands-on training to undergrads and grad students at their institutions, as well as of organize valuable community outreach and ocean literacy opportunities with engaging locals and citizen sciences. And the project is collaborating in improving frequency and coverage of data collection over the world's coastal zones, particularly in areas where resources and personnel are insufficient. We hope that with time, institutions and local governments can recognize their value and take the lead on secure support for a sustained long-term ocean observing system at their national and regional levels. So NANO provides a support which is generally insufficient for early career ocean professionals, particularly in developing nations. And we believe we are part of the efforts of leveling the distribution in the global ocean science capacity. Through supporting the future ocean leaders, NANO is making the next generation of stakeholders better prepared to the challenges ahead of us. So I would like to thank all the members of the NanoDo project that do an excellent work. I give you the contact details here for Pogo, Nano, and our project. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Lilian. I'm really impressed by the scale of the Nano project. It's really cool. So audience, if you have any questions for Lilian, please don't forget to leave it in our question and answer box. So now it's time for our third speaker, Cesar Bellino. So Cesar is the representative of the ocean acidification component in the executive committee of the Marine Coastal Stressors Research Network for Latin America and the Caribbean. With more than 12 years of experience in the implementation of analytical methodologies in environmental laboratories, for the last 7 years, he has been the head of the Marine Environmental Quality Laboratories Unit of the Marine and Coastal Research Institute in Colombia. He is in charge of the design of the monitoring and reporting with the required quality to the data port of the indicator of SDG 14. So Cesar's presentation will be in Spanish, but his slides will be in English. So are you ready, Cesar?
Thank you, Yumeng.
Cesar, sorry. This is not a presenting mode. We cannot see your slides in full screen. Oh, yes, this is working now. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Bueno, thank you. Somos una red voluntaria de investigación interdisciplinaria que emplea técnicas nucleares e isotópicas de uso pacífico para el abordaje de problemas ambientales de los ecosistemas marinos costeros de Latinoamérica y el Caribe. Remarco, es una red que nace del trabajo colaborativo de en diferentes proyectos regionales que han sido financiados por el Organismo Internacional de Energía Atómica. Remarco busca promover la colaboración entre los países sur-sur y desde el 2007, el primer proyecto regional donde se empieza a trabajar en estos investigadores que trabajan en la red, está la datación de sedimentos con la técnica de plomo 210 y la medición o la reconstrucción histórica de estos contaminantes en sedimentos. Es así como posteriormente en un proyecto hacia el 2009 se empieza a trabajar con floraciones de algas nocivas y la determinación de estas biotoxinas a través de técnicas nucleares. Posteriormente, hacia el 2014, en el proyecto RELA 3020, se empiezan a generar unas capacidades en términos de acidificación de océanos en el proyecto RELA 3020 y hacia el 2017, en el proyecto 7022, se adhiere un nuevo estresor que es microplásticos y se incorpora un nuevo componente bastante importante en nuestro quehacer como red, que es el componente de comunicaciones. Es aquí justamente en este proyecto donde nace Remarco como red y se va consolidando en el proyecto de RELA 3025, donde participamos 18 países. En este proyecto RELA 3025 se han trabajado los diferentes estresores que se vienen evaluando en los proyectos regionales y los países han mantenido los monitoreos que han sido comprometidos en estos proyectos financiados por el Organismo Internacional de Energía Atómica. Actualmente estamos por terminar el proyecto RELA 3025 y inicia una nueva etapa, un nuevo proyecto donde buscamos darle continuidad a todos estos estresores, a todos estos componentes y adicionar un nuevo componente que es el de carbono azul. Este proyecto pues, se va a denominar RELA 3028. Entonces, básicamente, nuestra red es una red que busca generar capacidades. Ese es el foco, que los países tengan las capacidades para hacer mediciones de los diferentes estresores en la zona marina costera. La idea es que esta información generada por el grupo de investigadores pueda ser transformada por el grupo de comunicación en documentos más fáciles para los tomadores de decisiones. Y tenemos una gran ventaja como red y es que nosotros trabajamos, unimos esfuerzos entre los diferentes componentes. Es así como podemos nosotros abordar diferentes metas de objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, como el tema de basura marina, microplásticos, eutrofización, algas nocivas y, evidentemente, el foco de esta presentación, que es el de reducir acidificación de océanos. Y su indicador 14.3.1, que todos conocemos, de acidez media en nuestros océanos. Entonces, con esto, pues, aclarar pues, que Remarco como tal es una red, no es un proyecto. Evidentemente es una red que se crece a través de diferentes proyectos en los que está trabajando y que hasta el momento todos estos proyectos han sido financiados por el Organismo Internacional de Energía Atómica. Hacia el 2014 ya se venían revisando cuáles eran estos vacíos de información o necesidades que tenía la región y es así como en los proyectos se han venido fortaleciendo cada una de ellas. En una primera actividad o meta que se empezó a trabajar en el RELA 3025 fue la elaboración de procedimientos o protocolos estandarizados para la región. A la fecha contamos con 6 protocolos armonizados, 5 de ellos fueron lanzados en el 2021 y que pueden encontrar ustedes en nuestra página de internet totalmente libres. Y este año estamos por lanzar en esta semana ya un nuevo protocolo para la determinación de pH en agua de mar. Estos protocolos hacen parte de un manual que nosotros pues, debemos tener de acidificación de océanos, en el cual alimentamos cada una de estas técnicas, bien sea por equipos o bien sea por alcance de la metodología analítica que se trae, con el fin de que cada uno de los integrantes de Remarco o no integrantes de Remarco, de cualquier investigador que esté trabajando en la temática de acidificación de océanos, pues sean de cierta utilidad. Vale resaltar que estos documentos estandarizados son adaptados de los documentos reconocidos evidentemente que se encuentran en la página de GOA-ON y algunos como los documentos generados por The Ocean Foundation, evidentemente. Adicional, nosotros evidenciamos una necesidad de la determinación de la incertidumbre de cada una de las variables del sistema de carbonatos. Para esto, desde 2020 a 2021, trabajamos y elaboramos tres variables que fueron pH por espectrofotometría, alcalinidad total y carbono orgánico disuelto, la determinación de incertidumbre de estas mediciones a través de un método Crackten y un método de Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo pues está por R y Crackten en Excel. Actualmente estos fueron elaborados pues en una plantilla en inglés y pues están también en la página de Remarco. Otra de las necesidades que se tenían en la región era el equipamiento, las capacidades pues, analíticas. En este sentido, pues, basado en algunos kits que ya se tienen en la región, información que se maneja por The Ocean Foundation, GOA-ON, generamos un kit de remarco de acidificación de océanos con un alcance para muestreo, para medición de pH por espectrofotometría y alcalinidad total, con cierta capacidad, y es que el espectrofotómetro empleado tiene una celda que puede mantener la temperatura a 25 grados Celsius, y adicional, pues, se incluye una celda con un paso de luz óptico de 5 centímetros, con el fin de que este equipo pueda ser empleado tanto para acidificación de océanos como para la medición de nutrientes, clorofila y otras variables de interés en el ámbito de eutrofización. En cuanto a alcalinidad total, apostamos por un equipo de la marca Pontus. Es un equipo que es un prototipo de la región. En México es ensamblado y bueno, con este pues nosotros la idea es que fue el kit que generamos de remarco. Adicional, algunos países hemos recibido capacidades en proyectos anteriores para la medición de carbono inorgánico disuelto. En el caso de Colombia y México tenemos la capacidad con una hídrica de la empresa de Marianda, y en el proyecto Relate 25 se pretendía dar esta misma capacidad a Cuba y Costa Rica. Sin embargo, pues este equipo pues ya fue descontinuado por Marianda. Entonces estamos trabajando con un analizador de analítica bien. Otro de los vacíos que encontrábamos es que si bien se han realizado algunos entrenamientos en la región, nosotros vemos que en las diferentes organizaciones, instituciones, el recambio de personal es bastante elevado. Entonces, esto hace que no podemos nosotros quedarnos con un solo curso en un año, sino tenemos que continuar en la capacitación. Para esto, en el proyecto se tenía contemplado un curso presencial en Colombia. Lastimosamente, por temas de pandemia, tuvimos que darle un vuelco a un curso virtual. Un curso virtual que fue trabajado en conjunto con OTGA, de Ocean Teacher Global Academy, en el cual el Organismo Internacional de Energía Atómica apoyó con recursos para generar un curso muy completo en el cual pudimos elaborar 7 videos demostrativos para tanto muestreo como las variables de alcalinidad total, carbono inorgánico disuelto y pH por espectrofotometría. Se hicieron sesiones asincrónicas, unas, por así decirlo, clases magistrales, donde la doctora Leticia Barbero nos colaboró y el doctor Martín Hernández Ayón. También estuvo la participación del doctor Joan Albert Sánchez Cabezas, entre otros docentes de remarco. Y en este curso, pues, aprovechamos para empezar a explicar cada uno de los protocolos que ya se habían desarrollado en remarco. Esto también fue acompañado de unas sesiones en vivo en la cual todos los participantes podían despejar dudas con los 7 docentes en cada una de las sesiones. Y fue pues un curso en el cual pues logramos entrenar a 120 estudiantes de forma exitosa. Lo que observábamos nosotros hacia el 2014 era la baja información que se tenía de de acidificación de océanos en la zona costera de la región. Es así como uno de los indicadores es poder reportar, valga la redundancia, el indicador 14.3.1 en el portal de datos pues, que maneja UNESCO. Entonces, básicamente, cada contraparte nacional se comprometió con un número de estaciones, las cuales, pues, la propuesta es que las mantengan en el tiempo, y es así como nace el Observatorio Regional de Acidificación de Océanos de Latinoamérica y el Caribe. El primer paso, antes de poder emitir estos resultados, es que en el proyecto se solicitaba que hubiera una coordinación entre la contraparte nacional o el instituto que participa en remarco con el punto focal o tomador de decisión que es encargado en su país de reportar el indicador 14.3.1. Y es así que a octubre del 2023 tenemos un progreso en el cual ya están reportando 6 países de remarco, y aquí valgo la aclaración, quizás algunos otros países pueden estar reportando, sin embargo aquí hacemos, mostramos las instituciones que hacen parte de remarco como tal. Entonces, aquí ya podemos ver que ya esta información pues se encuentra en el portal de datos de Objetivo de Desarrollo Sostenible 14.3.1. Bien, como nosotros en esta red tenemos laboratorios que están acostumbrados a trabajar con sistemas de gestión de calidad, están acreditados bajo normas 17025, nos pusimos un objetivo y es demostrar la confiabilidad de los resultados, y para eso participamos en una intercomparación. En realidad fueron 3 rondas de intercomparación Quasimeme, de la AQ15 de acidificación de océanos, en la cual pudimos enfrentarnos a unas muestras ciegas de salinidades del orden de 34 a 35, y por primera vez leer unas muestras de concentración desconocida o ciegas en salinidad de 8.13 o 7, una salinidad baja. Y es así como vimos que la diferencia en salinidad pues sí hace que tengamos que tener cierto ajuste en nuestras metodologías analíticas. A la fecha, pues en las últimas participaciones pues, hemos tenido unos resultados bastante favorables. Incluso en carbono inorgánico disuelto podemos ver acá los resultados de IPMAR que han estado en la media. Otra de las necesidades que abordamos fue la purificación de hemicresol púrpura, el cual pues se realizó generando capacidades en el instituto en IPMAR. Para esto partimos de hemicresol púrpura comercial y fue purificado por un cromatógrafo isolera One, y posteriormente pues se secó este material y se distribuyó a los diferentes países. Y bueno, en estos momentos pues estamos en la construcción de un artículo donde estamos comparando resultados entre los países que recibieron esta sal purificada, la NOAA y el Laboratorio de Oceanografía de Villafranca. Los desafíos que tenemos como red, y que esperamos aunar esfuerzos con las diferentes redes y también evidentemente con GOA-ON, es la evaluación de los efectos de acidificación de océanos en la región, la remoción de mercurio de estas aguas que están siendo residuales en nuestros procesos de sistema de carbonatos, lo cual ya hoy en día es una problemática. El tema de los materiales de referencia de alcalinidad total y carbono inorgánico disuelto, los estándares TRIS o FER de pH. Continuar con la reconstrucción histórica de proxies en corales. Ya tenemos información de Cuba y México, y próximamente pues, será publicada esta información, y queremos continuar trabajando esto en la región. La estandarización de un método para la medición de alcalinidad total llamada no carbónico, que lo que buscamos es evaluar cuál es el aporte a la alcalinidad total de lo que no corresponde a los carbonatos, y analizar la información del observatorio regional, ya que hasta el momento pues tenemos una información que está muy puntual por cada país, y es ver cómo podemos analizar esta información como una región. y aumentar pues el contacto entre los científicos y los tomadores de decisiones. Básicamente esta red es una red que podríamos decir una red viva. Nos reunimos los responsables de los países de remarco una vez o máximo cada 2 meses, y estamos participando en diferentes eventos como el que estamos en estos momentos. Muchas gracias, y bueno, a los angloparlantes me disculpo por haberles hablado en español. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Cesar. It's really great to see that you're putting all this work together in Latin America. It's really amazing. And now it's time to our next speaker. Our next speaker will be Katie Soabi. So Katie serves as the coordinator for partnerships and engagement at the Pacific Community Center for Ocean Science in Fiji. Previously, she undertook multiple roles at the University of the South Pacific, notably as a lecturer in the School of Biological and Chemical Science and as manager of the Pacific Natural Products Research Center. Katie was instrumental in establishing the Pacific Islands Ocean Acidification Center and the Ocean Acidification Monitoring Program in Fiji. She is committed to nurturing the careers of emerging Pacific Island ocean professionals at the nexus of ocean science and policy. So, Katie, are you ready to share your work with us?
Yep, go for it.
So I will be sharing your slides here. Okay. Okay. You may start from here.
Okay. Ula Vinaka and warm Pacific greetings. I'd like to thank the organizers, first of all, for this opportunity to share our work. And I'm presenting this work on behalf of a number of organizations that have been working closely with us. And so just wanted to acknowledge them first. NIWA in New Zealand, University of Otago, the University of the South Pacific, and the Ocean Foundation, and NOAA that we work very closely with as well. So I'd like to thank them for the support and for letting me on our behalf. Next slide, please. So if you let me, I would like to kind of start this presentation off with a bit of a background about the region and why we're doing what we're doing. So we are 22 Pacific Island countries and territories with 10 million people, 28 square kilometers of ocean space, and custodians of 20% of the world's EEZ. One of the key things about a region, as you all know, is that, you know, we are small countries, but with really large oceans. So we are large ocean states. And so a lot of times the capacities are very limited. So one of the key visions of our leaders from the region is regionalism, that together we are stronger and that we can collectively work together with one ocean identity. So next slide, please. And as I've said, so regionalism is very strong in our part of the world. So I am with one of the regional organizations called SPC, so the Pacific Community. This is the scientific, the principal scientific and technical organization for development in our region. It is quite widespread across the region with 8 regional campuses and 28 technical divisions. And the membership is very much everybody who's kind of within the Pacific region, including our metropolitan members as well. So altogether, we are an organization of 27 members, and 22 of those are Pacific Island countries and territories. Next slide, please. Whoa. Looks. The next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of this very quickly, as I think we are running out of time. So I just wanted to bring in the vulnerability of our communities to ocean acidification. As you know, it's projected to cost the world economy 1.2 trillion. So by 2020, but for us in the region, you know, economic cost aside, this is about our livelihood. It's about food security. It's about health, well-being, and data is really lacking in our region. And so the vulnerability to our livelihood and all the marine assets that support the ecosystem, the marine ecosystem that we depend on, is really at risk. Next slide, please. And so this is where the Pacific Island Ocean Acidification Center comes in. So we have in 2020, along with the partners that I have mentioned, the University of the South Pacific, NIVA, University of Otago, with support and help and implementing partner, which is the Ocean Foundation and support from NOAA, we were able to establish this center. And its key purpose really is to help countries, you know, start kind of some monitoring program in the region. And so you can see like the 4 key objectives of this center is to provide training to increase regional expertise in ocean acidification monitoring, to help with the distribution of ocean acidification equipment to countries, and support them and assist with data collection, but not only the collection, the management of the data, the accessibility, and how to help them, you know, submit data, and also to raise awareness and be part of the international community, and you know, provide support to our member countries with any, you know, monitoring that they do, any actions and policy, and being able to reach out to the international community as well. Next slide, please. So one of the key things we started off with was looking at what is the state of, you know, ocean acidification monitoring in the region. And as you can see, the map showing the different types of equipment that are being used, who's doing what, and what kind of methods, who has what type of equipment. And what that shows to us is there is work happening in the region. Of course, our bigger brothers and sisters in Australia, New Zealand, they are well supported and consistent monitoring, as well as in North Pacific. We have some of the northern countries, including Hawaii. But generally across our region, data collection is being done, but it is not coordinated, and it is not well, it is not shared, it is not uploaded, and if it's uploaded, it is not easily accessible by those that need it for any decision making or for any information that they need. And so this is one of the key things we started off when we as part of the center, to really see what is the status of OA monitoring in the region. Another key thing that came up was we have a lot of kits that have been provided to countries as well. And so part of this mapping exercise was also to find out what is the status of those kits, to see where we can help, where we can provide some support, and where we can work with them to address like their specific need in order to get the monitoring program going again, if they have started it. And if they haven't started, then how do we help them start it? So these are all the different countries, as you can see, where the monitoring or where there's some form of work that's happening. And the other important thing to remember is that if you know any other monitoring program that's happening that's not in this map, please do let us know. This is very much a working map, and we keep adding things as they come along, or as we are made aware of them. Next slide, please. And so these are some of the key things that we've done as part of capacity building in the region. So we've held 4 training courses, and these are all in partnership with different partners, including the partners I've mentioned, but also with GOA-ON, as part of the OTGA course. There was an online course that was conducted, in the region, that allowed almost 130 plus people completed the course. And so we had that online course, and then we had a face-to-face training with those that have equipment already in the region, the kit recipients. And then we also had a trainer of trainers training that we also held. We were also part of a policy training with the Commonwealth. And so for the region, this was a period of really a lot of awareness, because that's one of the key things. People are aware, but there was kind of not a lot of interest, or it's just not enough information to really galvanize the region towards, really putting some concrete actions into trying to get their monitoring going. So this training were very well advertised, and so we had a lot of interest from the region. As part of the face-to-face training, we had 19 Pacific Island scientists that came to Fiji, Suva, and had hands-on training. And then these are the ones that have been awarded kits, but also those that are still to receive kits as well. We have, through some previous projects with the Ocean Foundation, had kits in the region, as I've mentioned. And so part of this training was to refresh, trying to get everybody back to speed and trying to get them to start the monitoring program. We've also started as a one of the key things that I always feel is, we cannot really train people if we don't really have the means, or we ourselves are not doing any training. So we started this monitoring program in Fiji to try and train our own technicians and our own experts, so that whatever they come across, they can, any issues that they come across, they can actually reach out and help the region and all the the scientists that are in these different Pacific Island countries. We have a monthly Talanoa as well. We give it the name Talanoa. This is a traditional setting that we have, which is we allow participants to speak and say as they, there are no right and wrong answers. It's a very safe space, and calling it Talanoa gives that feeling, of young scientists. They don't have to worry. They can come in. They can talk in these sessions, and we have them as monthly, where countries can present anything that they have done, and if they haven't done anything but others have done, they have an opportunity to learn of each other. And also, we've been doing a lot of awareness raising on social media. We recently had an interview with Radio Australia and BBC, ABC Australia, and participating in regional and international conferences, symposium, just to raise awareness about the issue, and also really trying to get the momentum in the region and buy-in from our leaders. Because I think when our leaders see this as a issue that really needs to be addressed, that's when things will happen in our region, and the support and the funding and all of that can follow. Next slide, please. So I'll just very quickly go through this. I know I'm running out of time. Basically, the center was set up to address a lot of these issues that you can see here. Equipment breakdown, the center is there to help address some of those. So we are going to get technicians trained so that they can help countries and help them with their spare parts, and when they need ordering of parts. The center also try to provide or help with training, because this is a key challenge that we have. The centers providing regional space. Again, these are all challenges that we are trying to address through the formation of this center. Staff turnover and limited capacity is a key issue. Data management and submission, that's a key priority of the center as well. Again, these are all things that the countries have mentioned as like where they really need help. And also looking for funding for ongoing monitoring as well. Next slide. And basically, this is my last slide. Just things that we are looking to continue the support and the training and capacity building in the region. We are looking for more funding for sustainability of the center. We continue to do peer-to-peer. As you all know, peer-to-peer mentoring can be a challenge. So we want to use these Talanoa sessions we have as a form of peer-to-peer mentoring as well, where we can have maybe an expert come onto those monthly meetings, and all the countries can ask about a certain issue that they are having problems with and learn of each other. So that's kind of like the thinking at the moment, just to leverage off each other's peer-to-peer mentoring that they are going through, and having experts support more than just their peer mentor, their mentees. So this is an ongoing discussion, and how best to do is something we are looking into. Expanding monitoring activities to biological parameters. This is something countries are really interested in. They want to look how it's going to impact, how ocean acidification is going to impact their fisheries, their coral reef. And so it's not only about just the monitoring, they actually want to see what kind of impacts it will have on their marine resources. We look forward to having more collaborations and support and working with other organizations, and also the monitoring that we've done here in Suva, Fiji, that's ongoing, and so we're looking for support to have that a kind of key monitoring program that can inform the region about how OA monitoring can be done in the region. Next slide, and I think that's it from me. And thank you so much for this opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. It's so great to see that you are building up this strong community across all those islands. It must not be easy. And I hope we can have some time in our discussion part to talk about the potential support. So I'm really sorry we're running out of the time, but we do have one last speaker, and he's not able to be here, but we have a recording of his presentation. So Sam Dupont. Sam is an associate professor and senior lecturer in marine ecophysiology at the University of Gothenburg and a consultant for the Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center of the IAEA. His main research focus is the effect of global changes such as ocean acidification and warming on marine ecosystems. He has more than 200 publications on the subject in scientific journals, and he's also working on the development of innovative science communication and education strategies to tackle global challenges through his roles as steering committee member of the Center for Collective Action Research, or his contribution to the latest report of the International Panel for Climate Change. The third aspect of his work aims at evaluating and building capacities for marine science in developing countries. So here, he's going to give us a presentation about the Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center Capacity Building Program in Africa. So let's watch the recording.
Sorry that I'm not with you today in the session. I had other commitment. However, I'm going to give you a short presentation of the contribution of the Ocean Acidification International Coordination Center to the development of capacity in Africa. The Ocean Acidification Coordination Center is an initiative of the IAEA, together in collaboration with many other partners to help coordinating initiatives around ocean acidification. So we work on communication, science, and one of our three pillars is capacity building. So to do that, we first try to identify what were the main priorities. And quickly, it was quite obvious that Africa was one of the places where there was an important need to collect some data. And there are many bottlenecks, of course, there, and you can imagine that it could be related to lack of infrastructure, equipment, training, or money. But we wanted to formalize that, to optimize the possibility to do something useful. The good news is that it's always possible to do something useful. You can see on these pictures how the lab looked like on the island of Iñaka at our arrival just before a course in 2016. You can see it was completely empty, and within a week we succeeded in developing the minimum capacity to measure the carbonate chemistry and set up a basic laboratory system to do one of the first biological experiments in the region. But what we first did was to gather a group of experts in 2016 to develop a questionnaire to evaluate the real capacity need in Africa and in other countries, of course. So we wanted to know more about the expertise, the motivation, the infrastructures, and so on. Very quickly, we decided to analyze this data and try to categorize the different institutions into 4 different categories, from in red, category 4, as we call it, where you don't even have stable electricity, for example, to category 1, where you have everything to study acidification, from chemistry and laboratory lab, the possibility to measure all the key parameters for the carbonate chemistry, but also be able to do experimental studies for biology. We implemented this questionnaire in Africa in 2021, and together with an order survey, we gathered information on 101 participants. That's 69 institutions in 30 different countries. And first, when it came to the ambition, we realized that about 42 of these institutions are not working on OA today. And then we wanted to see some other are working just on the chemistry, some on the biology, and only 9 work on both. And then we asked them about their future plan, and you can see that some people are still not interested in working on acidification, but up to 39 were interested to actually study both chemistry and biology. Some, surprisingly, were only interested in one of these aspects. And the thing is that we need to keep to promote the need to do both, because we won't be able to address acidification by studying only biology or only chemistry. You really need both. So we checked also the level of expertise of the participants. About 70%, 70 out of 100 participated in training before, so that's great news. Many people are already trained, and about 79 already had some kind of level of expertise on acidification, and we classify them into different years of expertise on acidification. And then what we did is compared a little bit the level of expertise with the level of facilities that were available. So these 4 categories that I mentioned before. And then we made this table here where you can actually see the relationship between the score for the facilities and the expertise. And we have that in a database with all the information about all the different institutions. And you can see that for some institutions, they have good facilities and really good expertise. So that's great news. That's places where science is already ongoing, and what is needed there, it's basically to have specific technical support, to have more advanced training, to go a little bit further. And you can see here the list of the countries that have these kind of facilities. Then in some places you have really good expertise, but limited infrastructure. So in that case, we could progress by developing simplified methodology and promote, of course, the development of marine sciences. In other places, you have good facilities, but limited expertise, so that's great. In these places, we can just go and provide the right training to use the facilities in an optimal way. And the worst case scenario, places where you have little expertise and little facilities, and there, what we can do is start by basic training, provide some support for infrastructure, and also, like, of course, develop some simplified methodology. Networking, of course, is also very important in the context of developing capacity, and we ask if they were a member of big network like GOA-ON or OA Africa, and you can see that there is still some work to be done. So some participants are not part of these members. It's really important to promote the networking capacities. If we want to visualize a little bit the diversity in Africa, what you can see here is that different institutions have different level of capacities. Some in green have really good facilities, for example, on the southern part of Africa, where on the west part of Africa, you can see that there's still a lot of work to be done. So we check the average score for the countries, and you can see that there are a lot of reds again in the west part of Africa, and some really better situation in the southern part. However, we realize that if you take the best of every country, so the best institution for a certain thing, and you combine their expertise, keep an eye on Cape Verde and Egypt here. You can see that actually can turn green by just collaborating within the country. So if one institution has the capacity to do the chemistry right, the other one has really good facilities for biology, by combining effort, you can actually achieve quite a lot. We checked for what were the major barriers, and not surprisingly, money is always an issue, even in the best institution. Training appeared as the second part, then collaboration and safety for the equipment. So we know a lot today about what are the challenges, where are the good institutions, what is the expertise in Africa. And we decided to take advantage of that to organize the best training possible. So we have these 4 different categories in the different color code here of equipment and infrastructure. And then on the other hand, we can have some trainings that are targeting the real need in the different places. When we go somewhere, we know what kind of training are needed. And this has been implemented over the last years with the help of a lot of different partners here that you can see on the right. And from the first training in 2015 in South Africa, we organized many trainings in different parts. And the next one will be organized next year in Liberia. And just to show you examples, we organized 2 trainings in 2019, one in South Africa and one in Kenya, where we could actually set up labs, collect animals in the field, measure the chemistry, and organize and collect real data. And that was really inspiring. What we had to do, of course, is to propose some simplified methodology. Here it's a very simple assay to measure the impact of acidification on invertebrates. And we could collect during the course real data to answer complex questions. So as I said before, it's always possible to do something. We just need to adapt the training to the local needs. And what is nice is to see that after the course, there's been some continuation of the work, and these are some of the participants who are implementing the best practices that we developed, the simplified practices in Mozambique. And there is no scientific paper that is in preparation with the data that they have collected to study the impact of local adaptation in different types of ecosystems. So that's great. I think we can see that we start to have a lot of success stories. And one is, for example, Ocean Acidification Africa Network that originated from the very first course in 2015 and is thriving today with different regional hubs. You can have also individual best practices and success stories. And one great example is Carla. So Carla participated to her first basic training in 2016 in Mauritius, and since then have been really involved and active in the field, joined the peer-to-peer program, participated to different trainings, and since then defended a PhD focusing on acidification with already one scientific article published and other to come on top of her PhD. And she's today one of the leaders in the field in her country, but also in the region. This work also attracted the interest of other institutions, including YOMSA, and we had like this really successful YOMSA project. And if you're interested, you can have a look at the report that has been published recently, summarizing all the work that has been done on the east coast of Africa. So there are needs, definitely a lot of needs, but also a lot of opportunities in Africa. What is clear is that still a lot has to be done, so we need to provide some support that can be targeted, and West Africa should be prioritized. So that's why next year the OA-ICC will organize a training in Liberia. So what is really important is to adapt the training to the needs to be sure that you're not wasting resources. What is also great is that there's a lot of excellent resources already identified in most countries in Africa, so that can include institutions, but also expertise. And we have a lot of success stories that can be used to inspire others. What is also important is that we need to improve collaboration between and within institutions to be sure that within a region, you can do the best you can by working together. And then finally, we have collected through this capacity evaluation a database now that is available for the community. So if you're interested in developing some new work on acidification, just contact us. We can put you in contact with experts in your region or institutions that have the equipment that you need. And keep also an eye on the OAICC resources for future trainings. And don't hesitate, of course, to contact us. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and sorry again that I'm missing the session, but I'm sure it was really great and that you're going to have a nice interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalina, for playing the video for us. So yes, this is the end of all our presentation, and I'm kindly asking our speakers if you can stay a bit longer to see like if we have further questions from our audience. But if you have some other urgent situation, you're also free to go. Thank you so much. And I want to double check that if our attendees have a further question here. If you have any other question, you can raise your hand and ask our speakers directly. If not, if any speaker want to have some final words for this section, you're also very welcome to have some final words to wrap up our session. It has been really great and there's so much information, and I have been learning a lot, and I'm sure that we are all very impressed by all the great work you have been doing in different regions. It seems like we don't have any other question here. Any other final thoughts? Okay.
I'm curious if Darcy wants to expand on the question in the chat. That it looks like there was very long discussion. If you just want to verbally mention a summary of in response to Alexis's question about how to sustain such wonderful activities and products, and how you get sustained funding for this type of infrastructure.
Sure, I can touch on that. As far as funding goes, we have part of our funding coming from NOAA's Ocean Acidification Program, and then I work for the Alaska Ocean Observing System, and so we have sustained funding through that project to support the other part of my time. I'm 3/4 time on ocean acidification, which I realize is more than maybe some of the other regional coastal acidification networks. I know all of us are kind of pulled between different projects and sometimes institutions, and that can be tricky, but also it can be beneficial at times because we're sitting in on other meetings on other topics where we are able to make connections and develop relationships. And I would say, as far as the capacity to kind of produce products and build our network, has been mostly, I would say, possible because of the relationship building part, and that takes time. And I know we're one of the, I think where some of the networks have been around longer than others. We started in 2016, so we're coming up on 7 years old, or maybe we're 7 now. And I would say just one of the things we try to do is stay in as regularly as possible connection with our researchers and the people that we've met through outreach activities or engagement, that we kind of just stay on the radar. We reach out to them to review new products, to get their input on things, to partner on events so they feel like they're part of a team. Like the more people we can slowly build in over time, starting with maybe, I think as we have built over the past few years, there have been phases where we really put a lot of focus into public presentations. I think we had a year where we were just going to like everything possible and showing up with a lot of intro presentations, and then building partnerships through conversations through those. I also want to give a big shout out to our research community up here that's been really open to being involved in outreach and engagement product design in some ways. Like I am kind of a middle person often, where new research is coming in either on species response or on conditions out in Alaska coastal waters, and maybe papers are being published, and we say, okay, can we work together to like, what are the top 3 parts of this we want to communicate, and then go out to this stakeholder community that we've built up over time and ping a couple of them saying like, what do you think about this? How can we best reach your stakeholder group? Is it through a webinar? Is it through a conversation in your community? Is it through a brochure that you can read on your boat? And then a lot of back and forth between the stakeholder audiences that we want to reach and the researchers. And I realize that takes time on behalf of the researchers. So another thing is trying, I guess in my position, trying to not pull too much from any specific individuals, but kind of bring in some of the new, postdocs or grad students that have had less time in front of other audiences, kind of share both the work and the opportunity of stakeholder engagement. I don't want to go on for too long because I realize other people may have questions or other aspects of this to weigh in on as well. But I'd also be happy to follow up afterwards with anyone who either has thoughts or ideas in this realm.
Thank you very much, Darcy. Wow, I think it's a really nice session with all those presentations, and thank you for elaborating more on that question. And from here, I would like to thank all our speakers and the organizers. And from here, I will hand it over to Kalina.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you to the organizers and the speakers and the moderator, Yumeng, for such a great session. I'm really excited to hear about all of these different regional capacity building activities. And thank you, audience, for joining us for OA Week 2023. Please do not forget to consult the website and the schedule for the last day of OA Week, which is tomorrow, to see if there's any other sessions that you'd like to register that may interest you. And if you would like to stay up to date with the GOA-ON community, consider signing up as a GOA-ON member at goon.org. And you can also discover more about ocean acidification research for sustainability using the link that I just put in the chat or by scanning the QR code on the screen. So with that, thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to see you at another session. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.